So, Dave, we get to see the Doors of Durin in this episode. What are your overall thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was really cool to see the Doors, but they obviously it's kind of strange to just kind of have them appear in this episode with no prior build up. I think it was 2 episodes ago we got the Ithilden light, so that was nice. But we were expecting before season 2 that we would see a relationship between Celebrimbor and Narvi. So it was. I'm not going to say that relationship was robbed of us, but I just don't think that it's necessary to the showrunner's plot line, and this was just definitely more a cameo more than anything. And I think it is nice to see the design there. I was wondering, I was trying to think like, is this design, was this done by like Alan Lee or John Howe? John Howe's on the project, but I think
Hmm.
Tolkien actually did this initial design for the doors. Do you know any more about that? If it is a Tolkien design?
I don't know about that. I mean, I know that he did come up with lots of designs himself, and he was quite the artist.
Mm.
So he did have some cool little sketches that he would do. But I don't know about that. That's interesting. But yeah, it was cool to see them. But again, it's kind of a pity because just we've seen them now, so I imagine that's it. We're not going to get any more. And as you said, it's just like a bit of a cameo or a bit of an Easter egg for people to kind of go, "Oh, look, those are the doors," and or the Doors of Durin, as you like to call them.
Yeah.
Uh, um, but yeah, it's a bit strange. First of all, the first thing I was thinking when we got that, like the reveal, was why aren't we revealing them outside under the moonlight so we can get to see them in their full glory? Maybe they're saving that for later in a later season or in a later episode when they want to show have like a reveal part 2 where we get to see people arriving and actually using these doors for the first time. But it was
And why
funny
are they
that
not built in Khazad Dum?
yeah, why don't they build them there on site rather than build them in Eregion and then having to cart them off? That's just extra labor. That's unnecessary.
Yeah.
But I suppose the other thing that I was going to say was it was kind of funny when they were like, and the design completely invisible, apart from when moonlight is shining on. I'm like, but we're looking at it and we can see the design carved into the rock there, like so. It's
Yeah.
not completely invisible. It's actually you can see it with your during the daytime as well. So that was a bit
Yeah,
weird.
wouldn't you have thought that the reveal would have been a lot cooler at Khazad Dum, and
Yeah,
the reveal would actually be them going like, now wait for the moonlight, or they move trees around so that the doors actually light up because they're
just
like,
have Narvi
you can't.
cutting a ribbon.
Yeah, and you can't read the inscription, but the inscription is clearly there for all to see. So yeah, again, I think it's just like a last minute thought, like, oh, we'll just drop in the Doors of Durin. Also, in this scene, we got to see people teleporting from one destination to the other, because I think the very previous scene, Narvi was there in Khazad, and then suddenly, oh, now he's with Celebrimbor in
There was a
Eregion.
little bit more of map jumping, all right, in this episode, yeah.
Yeah,
But I'd say for
but
me the biggest problem that I had or the biggest disappointment is the fact that now that we've seen it, it's done, and I was kind of excited for the development of these doors. I thought, okay,
me too.
when we first heard about the Rings of Power series, we were thinking, what are things that happened during the Second Age that we might get to see? And this is one of the things that we were like, okay, we're going to get to see a cool relationship between these elves and these dwarves in this location because obviously we know about the animosity that exists between elves and dwarves. That's not for all clans and groups of elves and dwarves, and these particular two groups were very, very friendly, and that's why these dwarves existed because they would often have elves passing through Khazad to visit, and they were open to trade, and they just had a really, really good working relationship for centuries. So I was excited to see that friendship. I was excited to see Narvi when we were told before the season started that we are going to see Narvi the dwarf. We were like, okay, well, we know what's going to happen. They're going to be building these doors, and we kind of you and I talked about it before. We thought that we were going to get a lot of on-screen relationship of like Celebrimbor and
Yeah.
Narvi together, and we get to see kind of elves and dwarves bonding once more on screen. I know we've got that with Elrond and Durin, but it would have been cool to see like them sharing skills and crafts and kind of going, okay, this is how we imbue the Ithilden light into the already design that the dwarves come up with. Sorry, what were we going to say?
Yeah, no, that's another thing. We never actually see the crafting of anything. Like obviously with the rings of power as well, we kind of see a lot of machine work and stuff. I'd love to see El or Celebrimbor actually baiting the crap out of some ring with, his big hammer. But yeah, the scene as well opens up with Celebrimbor saying like elves and dwarves working together. Magnificent, isn't it? And
Hmm.
this is
Who would have
obviously,
thought?
yeah, who would have thought? Who would have thought? 30 years ago. But like a lot of fans of the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies would know that there's animosity between dwarves and elves, and as well, if you're a long time listener to the Council of Elrond podcast, we discussed how this happened, and it dates back to this piece of jewelry called the Noglamir, but it was mainly the Sindar elves and the I want to say Bluebeard dwarves. I can't remember their name, but that was like the main tension in the first age was between these big groups of dwarves and elves. But this would be the Noldor elves and the what are they called? Durin's folk.
Durin's folk.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do they have another name? They do. I just can't think of it right off the top of my head. Something beards, long beards, isn't it?
The
They're also the
Khazadumians.
long the Khazadumians, yeah. So they actually had a tremendous relationship for many thousands of years, and this door was supposed to be built just to let them come and go as they please. It wasn't supposed to be like Gandalf can't remember the password, but that's just, thousands of years later, Gandalf is kind of just a little bit forgetful. He can't remember to say the word melon. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know if we should even call it a password because it's like a password kind of almost kind of gives you the idea that it is this big secret thing, and it wasn't really. It was just in the
no,
second age. It was just the elves were coming along and they were like going up. And they were like melon, and the doors would open and they kind of wander in. So it's kind of like they were giving the elves like a key to the back door of the house, and they were saying just let yourselves in whenever, like come and go as you please, and that kind of stuff. So and
or it's
the
kind of
key
like
was
a
just this
modern
word.
day turning doors, to keep the wind out, but they couldn't have the technology there, so they had to carve a rune in to say friend, and then the door opens, and then obviously a little bit of wind gets in, but you come in as well, and
There's
then
an
the
awful
door
draft
shuts.
in this
And
place.
yeah, but overall it was nice to see the design, and yeah, enjoyable. Don't think it's going to be very important going forward for the Rings of
I know,
Power,
yeah,
but
I know, yeah.
it's
I don't
there.
think it ever was going to be massively important, but I was kind of excited to see Narvi working away on like Narvi. We have a
Mm.
very important project for you, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go and work with Lord Celebrimbor," and I thought that would be
Yeah.
kind of cool. But we didn't get that quite, but we did get to see the doors, and they were nice.
Yeah, so guys, let us know what you think of the Doors of Durin. Do you think they will be important? Did I get it right?
No, so
The
close.
Doors of Durin.
Well done.
Yeah, what you think, and do we think that it'll play any part in the upcoming Rings of Power episodes?